So I'm going to start by grabbing a pretty good size section of hair. You want to make sure it's bigger than the width of the braid here by quite a lot. So, and remember, this is going to be one full braid. So you want to make sure that if you're doing jumbo box braids, you're going to use quite a lot of hair for each braid. And I pretty much just eyeball the thickness of the full strand here of how much I want. And then I kind of squinch it all together, and if that seems like the size I'm going for, then that's about how much I'll start using. But I'll kind of like just, you see how that's thick. Once it's kind of taut and twisted up, it'll be about that thick, which is pretty similar to this braid. It might actually be a little more. But what I want to make sure I point out is that at the ends here, I like to make sure that they're a little feathered, and I kind of like pull it a little bit this way so that it comes to a point so it's not so blunt. And you don't want to pull the hairs all the way out. You do want to still maintain the evenness as much as possible, but you do want it to kind of come to a triangle point right here at the end. And I might even tug on a little bit more of these. And you kind of just want to keep playing with it. Want to make sure it still feels even on both sides, but that it comes to a triangle point. What this is going to allow you to do is once you get to the end of the braids here, they'll be kind of more they'll look like more crispy, more neat. They'll come down all the way to a triangle point instead of just a regular point. So then I want to take it in about as even a section as possible, even amount of hair on this side as that side, and then just split it straight down the middle. Then I want to overlap the braids. Again, this is a very old style technique. So now I have the one strand I had right here and the one strand I had right here. And I want to make sure it's still pretty even on both sides. If one side's a little longer than the other, I'm going to adjust and kind of pull it so that they're still even, making sure it still comes to a nice taper point. So then I still have those two strands. Again, this was one strand and this is one strand from the split. And then I want to kind of do it like that so that it's three pieces. This is going to make sure, excuse me, that light is kind of really bright. I'll turn it up a little bit. Or a little bit more. There we go. Doing it like this in these three sections here is going to make sure that the actual braid disappears when you go to do the, when you add the extensions. So I have the hair here. I have one piece over here, one piece over here, and then a piece from each side in the middle to kind of be the anchor braid. I'm going to kind of fold that over so that it's not sticking out. All right. Confuse myself. So put that over and put that over. So there's that. So that now I have it actually, this is one strand, this is one braid, and this is one braid. So I kind of put it up here. I'll start with the bigger braid and just keep it with the actual braid that's in the hair. So now that whole one side is over here and this whole one side is over here, and now kind of crisscross it and do an under braid. So right now I have these two sections here that are actually just one section that was split. I'm going to come around the rubber band, kind of go under here and start doing a under braid, just to make sure that when I add all the hair, oops, and it's getting stuck on my mannequin's thing there. I want to make sure I keep it up to the top as much as possible. Trying to keep all the sections together and talk is a little difficult, but I'm sure you guys are with me. So then I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to go here. And then I'm just going to do a regular plait or just a single braid. But each time I twist it, I want to make sure that I'm hiding the actual braid into the hair. So this braid, I want to make sure that I'm keeping it concealed as much as possible. So then I'm going like that. Some of the braid's coming through, so I'm just making sure that it gets tucked under. And I'm going to come back and go that way. Make sure the braid is concealed. Continue to go down. And I'm just going to continue to do this all the way down that braid. It is coming out a little thicker on one side. This side is thicker than the other two. So what I'm going to do is actually, I don't like the way that's looking. So I'm going to switch the side that I have the braid on. And that's why I say this technique with using the rubber bands is great if you're a beginner, because if you do have any error, or if you're, you know, getting to a point where you feel like it's kind of messing up and it's not coming out how you want it, you can always take it down and start it over. It won't be as much of a hassle. So I'm just unloosening it. Still pretty much even for the most part. I got a little knot down here, a tangle. So I'm just gonna straighten that out. Okay. So still feel about the same size to me. So I'm gonna just go ahead and try it again. So I'm putting those two in the middle with the braid. Whoops. Keeping this part as close to the head as possible. And then I'm going to start the braiding process. Again, making sure that I keep the actual braid kind of covered up by the extension hair. And then you guys pretty much know how to do a braid. You just continue to braid it all the way down to the ends. And I'm going to show you real quick what we do when we get to the ends of the hair. So I'm going to braid this a little bit faster. Sorry, it's a little shaky. Kind of pulling the hair and detangling as I go, but what I hope you guys can notice on the camera is that while I'm doing the braid with the extension hair, you can't see the rubber band and you cannot see the original plait that was in there, which is what we want. We want to make it look as neat and conformed as possible. All right, getting to the end here. Just a few more seconds. So I wanted to make sure that when I got to the end, I showed you guys how to seal the hair to kind of keep it from unraveling. Because you go through all this work to put the style in, you want to make sure that it still lasts, like it doesn't come apart and unravel on you. So there's several techniques, several different techniques that you can do. I'll show you what I did with this specific style, and then I will tell you some other options that you can do. Just let me finish getting down to the bottom here. All right. So once you get to the bottom, it should come to a nice point. You want to make sure it's not blunt, and that shouldn't be an issue if you did the kind of feathering technique that I showed you when we split the hair originally. So I'm more or less at the end, but so there's a few different ways that you can go ahead and clean up the ends. So you get all the way down to the end, more or less. I didn't braid it all the way down just because I got tired of doing it. But if you notice, I don't know if the camera is going to show that because of the focus. It's not very well focused, but there's a lot of flyaways and a lot of hair sticking out right here. Well, maybe if I come up closer, you can kind of see it. No, not really. It doesn't really help. You can kind of see it right there a little bit. But oftentimes when you do braids, you end up with all these flyaway hairs. If you're working with extension hair like this, what I do is I like to get the lighter and definitely let your client know if you're going to be using fire. But I kind of like to get the lighter and kind of just burn it and squish it against the braid and then kind of burn it and then squish it and kind of hold it there. It will be hot. Make sure you don't burn yourself so that it'll actually stick to the hair, which is what I've done with this section here. I'm kind of just burnt it and then kind of pushed it in so that it'll stick, so it'll be a nice even kind of tapered look and not as many frizzies and flyaways that you can barely see in this lighting. Another option, if you don't want to burn your hair, or if you're not using extension hair and you're using your real hair, you can always use mousse and kind of coat the whole head and then kind of squeeze it into the braids in a going down motion so that the flyaways will become kind of stuck to the hair. You can also use gel, which I do not recommend if you plan on getting your hair wet anytime soon, just because the gel will wash away and that will defeat the purpose of the look. And most gels are water-based, so it will cause a lot of frizz instantly, especially if you have natural kinky hair. Another option outside of the spritz is the mousse, the gel, or you can put rubber bands at the end. I don't recommend it just because it makes it looks a little funky with rubber bands at the end. But you can always secure it with the rubber band, and then you would just do the same process with the next section. Go ahead and break off your hair, split it into 2 sections, braid it going down, making sure that you're tucking the original braid. When you get to the end, you can either get some scissors and kind of go up that way. You can get a lighter and burn it. You can get some mousse and kind of scrunch and squeeze down the entire strand. You can get some spritz and kind of spritz it down. Or you can use gel to gel it down, which, again, that's not an option I would recommend if you plan on going swimming or doing anything where your hair is going to be wet or working out. But again, you continue that whole process all over the head, and before you know it, you have these nice, juicy, thick box braids. And yeah. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about the box braid style, definitely let me know. I do plan on doing a full install next month, so stay tuned for that video. I'll show you how to do it on kinkier textured hair, because I do believe her hair was washed and then blow dried. First, just so we can get those slick, nice, smooth parts. And I do apologize again for the shaking, but for the most part, that's the look. If again, definitely hit me up if you guys have any questions about it. I think this is a really fun style, especially if you have looser texture hair that doesn't really hold a braid well, or it doesn't hold extensions very well. It's really good to try it with the rubber bands. So that's all I got for you guys. I don't like to keep you guys long in these videos. So with that being said, we are going to say bye-bye, good night, farewell, catch you in the next one. And thanks so much for tuning in to Team Natural Chic. If you guys do have styles that you would like to see me try, or if you guys have questions about specific natural hairstyles, definitely feel free to leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys and hearing what you guys are out here up to. So let's keep this thing going, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thanks again, and see you in the next one. As always, peace, love, and hair grease.